Hello and welcome to another Baggie Brothers video. Today we're talking Best 11 where we speak to ex-players and current content creators about their favourite Albion squads. And today we are joined by Max and Dom, aka 2 Baggies, 1 Lightbulb. How are we doing, lads?
Hi guys.
Yeah, all good.
Not too bad.
Hi guys. This is the problem when you've got two people. You guys know about this. We always talk over each other, or
Sorry, Dom. Can you
thing.
Exactly like that?
What?
Now there's four of us. It's going to be even worse.
It's going to be a
it's going to be
logistical nightmare. This video. God.
Anyway, enjoy, guys.
On the off chance that people watching have no idea who you guys are, you obviously do the 2 Baggies, 1 Lightbulb podcast. You've got things like the cool down where you talk about the matches and you get to speak to some ex-players, and you recently spoke to the shareholders, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
How have you been finding doing the podcast this season? Obviously, you started around the same time as us, and I feel like we've picked maybe the wrong season to kick things off.
Yeah, what a season to pick, right?
Yeah.
If only we'd started this in the championship, we'd have win after win after win after win to talk about. But yeah, it's a difficult one to take, especially with the drubbings, and we've had quite a few of those this season, haven't we? 3, 4, 5 apiece. So it's a tough one, but we kind of muddle through, don't we, lads? Max, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, there's the losses to take, the drawing random positives out of losses at times, and then just the COVID situation that's made things a little more difficult. So at the start, it wasn't too bad. We'd meet up, we'd record, but then getting back online, it just adds another dimension to everything. We've had to learn a bunch of things, but it's been fun. You know, in a way, without lockdown, we'd never have made this. So
there's always talking points for the Albion. That's the thing, isn't there? There's always something to pull up.
Always something to do.
On and off the field.
Yeah. I mean, it's not been dull. Let's put it that way. It's not been dull.
No, never.
Let's start off here.
Good for views.
Yeah,
losses are good for views.
It is, yeah, and talking points as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, right, boys. What formations have we gone for then in your teams?
I've gone 4-4-2. I didn't overthink it. When I do things like this with mates, I always go 4-4-2. It's easy to think about. Unless I do modern ones, like modern squads, I'll go 4-3-3. But when I'm thinking favourite players, stuff like that, I'll just do 4-4-2. Wide base, get a load of people in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, me too. I've gone meat and potatoes, 4-4-2. Sean Dyche's favourite system. Works for him. Worked for Leicester winning the league. Why not?
Nice.
Perfect.
Well, obviously, we'll start off with the keeper. Let's start with Max. Who's your goalkeeper of choice?
I went for Ben Foster. I absolutely love this guy when he was at the club. Remember him coming on loan from Blues, chanting to sign him up, and then we actually did sign him up. I was like, okay, we've actually done it, so fair enough. And then he stayed until we got relegated, and he was just a great serviceman, an incredible keeper, and he continues to be a good keeper for his age.
Yeah,
so I think it was an obvious choice for me, especially with my age and where I watched Albion. Definitely the best keeper I've seen at the Albion.
Absolutely. What about you, Dom?
Well, I hate being called a copycat, but I have copied and put Ben Foster in. Just because he is the best keeper we've ever had. Tell me another keeper we've had that hasn't been as good as Ben Foster. I mean, there's some that have come close.
Well, there's one in the 50s that was actually really good, mate.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I remember. No, I don't. Ben Foster's been the best keeper we've ever had. And certainly since I've been going, the closest ones to Ben, you'd say maybe Russell Holt, Kuszak on his day. A few players like that. Scott Carson maybe as well. But Ben Foster is sort of the stratospheric level of goalkeeper. And I feel like whenever goalkeepers come in, Sam Johnston, maybe Alex Palmer as well, who's been absolutely killing it this season in the lower leagues. He's going to be the benchmark of goalkeepers for West Brom that we kind of use as a barometer to see, is this keeper any good or not? Ben Foster, number one, all day long.
Yeah, as far as Premier League goalkeepers go that we've had, there's not really been much better.
Yeah,
I don't know if you contend that adds.
I always had a soft spot for Russell Holt, didn't I? I had that poster on the back of my door, but yeah, you've got to agree that Ben Foster's just class.
You had a life-size, full 1-to-1 scale poster of Russell Holt on the back of his door.
Wow.
Which, when I was 6, terrified me because there was you close the door and there's just this man who I didn't recognise.
That is some high level simping. That is, geez, simping for Russell Holt.
I reckon you'd be hard pressed to find someone else who had a 1-for-1 ratio picture of Russell Holt on their door. So you
must have been the only one, mate.
Yeah,
you and Russell. You and Russell, maybe that was it.
No idea where I got it from. It must have been at one of the programs.
Just turned up one day.
Just
I remember buying it, so that was.
And it's never left. It's still there
Still
to this day.
Yeah, no. Go on then. Wing backs. Who are we going with, Dom?
Well, I'll start with right back. I've gone with Stephen Reid. I used to love Stephen Reid for a couple of reasons. Great defender and whatever. But when he came to the Albion, he was kind of, for want of a better word, in the twilight of his career. Yeah. He'd had a good and plentiful career and come to the Albion. And I don't know if people were expecting much of him. I think it was very similar to maybe when Connor Townsend came in and Furlong, they were expecting to be a peripheral player. And the times that I saw him play, he was very much central to that defence, incredible at right back. And the reason why I love Stephen Reid so much, and I've put him in this 11, is despite all of his flaws, based on age. So his ability, he wasn't the fastest player, let's be honest. Yeah. And he probably wasn't throughout his whole entire career, but when he was in his sort of early 30s, he definitely wasn't. But that didn't stop his game. And what he did was he changed his game and improved on his game in that latter part of his career. And he would anticipate the runs a lot better. He would make sure that he was a couple of steps behind maybe he was in his early days, because he knew he didn't have the pace anymore to keep up with these incredibly fast wingers. And at the time in the Premier League, pace was king. You know what I mean? Pace was hugely important. It is now, but back then, the formations that we were playing against, pacey wingers was the meal of the day, and Stephen Reid made it look easy. So Stephen Reid, for me, absolute boss at right back.
Solid choice.
Can't argue with it. And then Max, you're right back.
I was thinking Stephen Reid, great player. Also, he scored an amazing free kick at home. I don't know who against, but it was like 35 yards out, and he took one step and blasted it top bins. That was a great goal. So I was tempted to go for him, but I've cheated and I've put Johnny Evans at right back because I wanted to shoehorn someone else into the squad. So,
wait, what?
Yeah.
What? Are you rewriting history, son?
Kind of. I've kind of made Johnny Evans Craig Dawson, shoved him out to right back. But just you're gonna deal with it because I've chosen to do it, mate.
Right.
So,
okay.
Johnny Evans is going right back because he was such a great player, and he's probably the most adept at right back than any of my other two centre halves, because he was just incredible coming in from United. He was that little step up we needed. Same with Darren Fletcher, just added some class, added some quality to the team, and he was one of the best players I've seen at the Albion as well in history. So I couldn't leave him out of the squad. I couldn't leave out the other guy out of the squad. So I've just switched Johnny Evans to right back because he's got to be there.
We'll allow it, I think, won't we?
Yeah. Well, again, we said it's someone else who did it. It's very Albion to put a centre back at right back. So
we do it.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Doro Sheehan's at right back some games, so we still do it.
Yeah.
So it's totally on form. Left backs.
Do you want me to go first?
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I put Liam Ridgewell. It's really tough for me. Paul Robinson, Liam Ridgewell for me were very, very close. And for two very different reasons. Paul Robinson's just Paul Robinson. You know, he's the fan favourite. And why is Paul Robinson the fan favourite? Because it was almost like he was always one of us. He was the guy that gave 100% or 110% commitment every single game. That's all you can ask for as a base level as a fan. You know, everything else comes on top. It's paramount, you know, that level of ambition to play. That was Paul Robinson. Liam Ridgewell, I don't know. Liam Ridgewell, I think he kind of turned up sometimes he didn't, but when he turned up, the guy was just a machine, an absolute machine playing it. And I used to love watching him play. It was almost like, this is going to sound strange, but the narrative throughout the game of watching Liam Ridgewell play. It is.
It was because brilliant, wasn't it?
It was so contentious throughout the game. There was always these weird little controversies on the field, and him causing a little bit of a ruckus with players and things like that. Him taking those weird. Do you remember the weird throw-ins?
Man. Throw-ins. When Liam Ridgewell played for us, because I've gone Liam Ridgewell as well at left back. Again, thought about Paul Robinson, but I went for Liam Ridgewell because it's about not necessarily. A lot of the players I've gone for are the best players in their position. Liam Ridgewell, that's a bit more contentious, but I just, like Dom said, loved watching him play. So when we went while he was playing, we sat in the West Stand at the time, and
Halford.
second half, obviously we'd be tacking towards the Brunner Road end, and Liam Ridgewell would end up at the Halford's end, and we were winning every throw in within the 70th minute onwards. It'd be, you know, shirt tuck, left sock, right sock,
Yeah.
draw the ball, lob it up, and then they clear it,
Yeah.
and he'd do it all over again. It was brilliant. I loved
The guy
him.
was a master time waster. He was incredible at it. He was so good. I've never seen a guy take so long to take a throw in my entire life. Incredible.
And versatile as well. He could always play centre back for us, well, couldn't he? So yeah, no, good choice.
And there was the whole thing with the wiping his ass with money, so that's good.
That's a great
that was great.
You've got to have a player in the team that's a bit like that, so that's always a good choice to get someone in.
The guy was a human amalgamation of a meme. He was the funniest guy on the planet. Incredible.
Right, go on then. Let's have a look at the centre backs then. Max, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I'll start off by explaining why Evans is playing right back, because I couldn't leave out Jonas, amongst others. I couldn't leave out Jonas Olsen out of this team because of his longevity in the side and just what an absolute menace he was to other players. Like, the guy would take nothing. He'd take nothing from fans, let alone other players. I absolutely loved him. I thought he was brilliant. I think when he stepped onto that football pitch, everything changed for him. He was an absolute warrior. It was a great centre half as well. Don mentioned pace as well earlier. The guy wasn't very fast, but he was a very good centre half for half a decade in the Premier League, which is something really remarkable. So I couldn't leave him out. So he's playing centre half, and Johnny Evans is shifted out to right back.
Nice. Dom, what about you as well?
I think he's starting to see a pattern here with me and Max, and probably why we've started a podcast together, because we tend to agree on a lot of things.
Have you seen each of his teams, by the way, just out of interest?
No, I haven't seen Max's team at all. No. Okay. This is just pure coincidence. This is synchronicity at work.
You've gone for Ryan Donk, haven't you? That's what you're on about. You've gone for Ryan Donk.
Good old Ryan Donk, captain of Club Bruges, absolute pinnacle of Albion centre backs. No, of course I ain't gone Ryan Donk, mate. I've gone Jonas as well, for obvious reasons, mirroring whatever Max has said as well. Incredible career with the Albion. But also as a character, and character makes such a big difference when you're coming up with these teams as well. What they mean to you from a nostalgic level. Jonas was the primary centre back at sort of the peak period that I was watching the Albion as well, going to every game, away games, everything else. And it was his demeanour as well. I loved this guy's demeanour. I had the pleasure of meeting him actually once when I was a child, or sort of early teenage years. I think it was Portsmouth away in the Cup, and we stayed over in Portsmouth, me and the family. We stayed at the same hotel as the players, and I saw Jonas in the elevator and sort of said hello to him. And it's one of those, every Albion fan's got these stories where they've met a couple of players and stuff like that. And Jonas was one, and I was, just like this little fat kid with specky glasses on, sitting in the elevator, just like profusely sweating, just kind of going, "Oh my God, it's Jonas Olsen!" And spoke to him, and he's great. He's such a incredibly nice person. Not that you'd expect any different, but incredibly nice, very eloquent. But on the field, he was a completely different person. The guy was after every ball, after every decision, gave everything on the pitch.
I think he's one of those players, like people talk about Bruno Fernandes at United, of having that mentality, like, we don't lose today. This is not good enough. He'll drag everyone. Yeah. And I felt that with Jonas Olsen, it was, this is not acceptable. He was the one on the pitch to go, this is awful. We need to step it up a level. And he was the first to say that. And I think we as fans really appreciated that. And that's why he's in both of our squads.
Yeah, led by example, didn't he, basically?
So, easily.
Who's your other centre-back then? Pairing him.
Start with Dom on that one.
So I've gone with the man himself, Gareth McCauley. I don't think many Albion fans would not have Gareth McCauley in their Albion 11. You've probably had Gareth McCauley for every single episode of this series.
I think he's the most common name that's come up.
He's one of them, isn't he?
Because the guy's everything. We've touched on it a little bit here about, sort of being the best performers, but also having great character, fan favourites. Gareth McCauley's the trifecta. He's all those three and more. Yeah. The guy was at one point in his career the highest goal-scoring centre-back in Europe. I remember that. He was an incredibly competent, more than competent defender. I think the only reason Gareth McCauley didn't leave us and go to a top-flight club is simply because of his age. That was basically it. If he'd have been 22 and playing like that, he'd have gone to sort of Man City, Man United. I guarantee that. The levels of performance he was putting in. So Gareth McCauley for me is again, very much like Ben Foster being the benchmark for goalkeepers at this club, Gareth McCauley for me going forward is the benchmark of what a great centre back has to do. Have you gone the same, Max? Have you done exactly the same? We synchronised again.
I've actually gone for Dara O'Shea because my love for Dara O'Shea knows no bounds.
Oh yeah.
No, it's of course Gareth McCauley. There's no other centre half that goes into this. When you rule out Evans, when you rule out Olsen, no one else remains. It's McCauley. That's the only one. He's not as good as Evans, but he was such a great compliment to him. And it was weird because like Johnny Evans was 26, 27 playing for us at his peak, and McCauley would be 34, 35 and putting in similar levels of performance. It was genuinely astounding. The guy was an absolute machine.
Yeah.
From when he joined us from Ipswich, having never played a minute in the Premier League, to then becoming, as Dom said, highest scoring centre half in Europe. The guy was unreal. Again, similar to Stephen Reid, similar to Jonas Olsen, not the fastest, but great positionally, a goal threat. Like, for the way we were playing at the time, it was amazing. Yeah. So you can't be with that Gareth McCauley. Absolute fan favourite. Love the bloke.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, everything you've both said. Can't contend any of it. You both picked obviously like pretty strong defenses.
Yeah.
Pretty comfy defense, I would say, for both of them.
Probably the best defense we've ever had.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the last sort of 10, 15 years, I'd say you've picked our best defense there.
Yeah.
Midfield though. Have you both kind of have you picked them going to like right wing to left wing, or have you just sort of picked your 4 best midfielders? What's sort of gone on?
I've gone right, centre, left.
Okay.
Striker.
Okay.
I've kind of just picked my 4 best midfielders to be awkward. But we can shoehorn them in wherever you want.
Play a diamond.
So pick a position.
Not a diamond. Diamond would work. Not for a diamond.
Because some of these players were quite, sort of, some could play in the wing and they could play in the centre, depending where they were. Some could be quite versatile. You'll see what I mean as I go through. Hopefully.
Go on then, Dom. Who have you got on the right then? You kick us off.
I'll put Zoltan Gera on the right. So Zoltan Gera for me.
Oh my god.
Zoltan Gera for me, for anyone that knows me personally, knows that I have a weird obsession with Zoltan Gera. I don't have a 6-foot poster of Zoltan Gera in my room, but I
you call yourself a fan?
I'm a plastic fan, mate. Exactly. Where's my 6-foot poster of the Hungarian giant? But everyone's got the player that they love, their favourite player. Zoltan's my favourite player of all time. Not just his performances, like I said before. It's a nostalgia element as well. Going to the games with your dad, with your family, doing the whole thing, and watching Zoltan for the first time. And Zoltan was one of those players, especially in the first time he was the Albion when he had the number 11 shirt. He was one of, if not only, the only creative outlet we kind of had in that team. We were a bit stifled, that team, of quality. Grit, determination, all the other cliches you want to rattle off, we had, but we didn't have the quality element. And Zoltan, almost on his own, was that huge level of quality that could turn a game based on whatever performance he chose to give. And that, for me, made him a standout player. He was like a diamond in the rough in those kind of teams. So it was quite easy to go to the club shop and get my Gera 11 shirt, and everyone else had the Gera 11 shirt on. I didn't see many Kevin Campbell shirts. That's no disservice to him, but he was an atrocious, industrious forward, whereas Zoltan Gera was this guy that could turn a game on its head and beat a couple of players, or score an overhead kick, or have a moment of brilliance. And for me, he epitomised what Albion could be. And I just have a lot of nostalgia for Zoltan Gera. Love the guy.
It's top pick. He's again another very common name. I think he would be in a lot of people's teams. What about you, Max? Who have you gone for first?
I didn't put Zoltan Gera in, but Zoltan Gera is the obvious choice because the guy's amazing in 2 stints at the Albion, which is remarkable. But I went for Morgan Amalfitano. Only
just for that one game.
Just for that one game.
2 stand-up games, but just an overall season of really good talent, really good fan favourite. Could do what he wanted on the ball. I really enjoy watching Morgan Amalfitano play. The goal against Cardiff was unreal. The goal against Man United was unreal as well.
That one, yeah.
It was quite sad to see him go. Actually, I think he signed for West Ham the season after.
Yeah.
But he was an unreal player. I really enjoy watching him play. Great skill, similar to Gira. Could flip a game on its head. Gira is ultimately the obvious choice, and if you're making an Albion 11 of all time, not necessarily favourite players, but best players to put on an Albion shirt, you know, Amalfitano, you'd say honourable mention. Amalfitano played for us for a year on loan. Gira is a choice that you'd put in that squad because how good he was.
Anyone who can put Rio Ferdinand on his ass, though, deserves to go in some sort of team.
Well, that is true.
So
that is quite true.
It's a shame he didn't. Yeah, it's a shame he didn't I don't know, hit the heights that maybe he sort of. I would love to have had him for a second season.
It's like Pereira. We've re-signed Pereira from the loan to the full season. It feels like we've secured that, whereas with Amalfitano we didn't secure that sort of lightning in a pan, whereas we did with Pereira.
Yeah, nice to see him carry on. Who's next then? We'll go for you. We'll go for you, Max, first. Who are you going next in midfield?
James Morrison, Albion legend. You know, still around the club. One of the best talent, one of the most talented players we've ever had. You know, one of the longest servicemen we've ever had. Absolutely loved the club, and we loved him back. You know, the guy was good for a goal, good for an assist, and just a team player. Did what he was asked. You know, never caused too much fuss, and you know, it's hard to dislike a player like James Morrison, isn't it? No. He's a proper true professional. You know, always see him around the club. You know, now he's around the club with the coaching staff, and just a great pro. He looks like a great bloke. Great memories as well. Goals, volleys, you know, long distance shots. Yeah. You know, brilliant passer of the ball, kept the game ticking over. You know, I think with some of these players that we point out, the Olsons, the Morrisons, and sort of players like that, the longevity and the Giras, the longevity they have of moving from lower leagues to the Premier League, and they still didn't fall out the squad, and we managed to keep on to them. They sort of have an even more special place in our hearts.
Yeah, 100%. And what about you, Dom? Who have you gone for? Who's your next midfielder?
Well, I've gone for the Argentine, Claudio Yacob. A big Yacob fan. Love that guy. I'm a big fan of that industrious midfield player, and you don't really find it anymore. We have kind of like a very total football, especially over a midfield. Long gone are the days when you've got your sort of Pirlo and Gattuso deep in that midfield, sort of Pirlo being the creative outlet and then Gattuso being the water carrier, if you want to use like Cantona's words, you know, making sure no one could touch him. But Claudio Yacob was like our Gattuso. You know, he was just out there, just taking it for the team every single time. And the fans will love that. And that's the reason why I love him as well. The guy just put his body on the line every game. And was it a game unless he got a yellow card? Every single time he was on, the guy got a yellow card. And that was just testament. That was like a medallion around the guy's chest, an award for him doing his job. You got to love that. You've got to love a guy that puts himself out like that every single game. So yeah, Claudio Yacob for me, industrious, hardworking, loved the club. The interviews that I've seen from him as well, he just seemed like a really nice guy, down to earth.
He looked a really happy bloke around the club.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Behind the Badge documentary on YouTube, but he's in that and he's just laughing about the place, having a joke. Just seems like a really top bloke. You know, a lot of these guys are, you know, great pros, great blokes that it's a really stereotype to say, but you'd have a pint with them down the pub. It's so stereotypical, such a cliche, but you would.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would seem like they love what they do for a job, and then on the outside of it, they are just good people and just seem like, like you say, you want to just sort of hang out with them.
Oh, mate, I was heartbroken when he went, and then he went to Forest. But I could see why they did it. You know, they needed to get him off I think he was on quite high wages as well. And he was, you know, sort of coming to the end of his contract and stuff like that. But I was heartbroken, mate, because he was the lifeblood of that midfield, wasn't he? And it's
do you know what? I don't think we've actually replaced him up until recently with Iguodala. I really don't. I don't see.
Oh, absolutely,
midfielder that's been like him.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
The sad thing is I think Yakuslu's even better.
Yeah,
you know, he's so much better on the ball. Yacob was a great defender, great screener. Wasn't great on the ball. You know, his job was to break down play, pass it immediately to people that are better than him. Yakuslu, it's a joy to watch. The guy will carry the ball. He'll pirouette around people. He'll do a step over and carry it out himself and pass it forward. So it's a shame unless we stay up, it's a shame we won't be getting him next year because he is a delight to watch.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Who's next in midfield then for you, Max?
I have gone with Claudio Jakob's compatriot for many years, and I've gone for Yusuf Malumbu.
Yeah,
he's such a good player. Like, I don't know how we kept on to it for so long. I don't know how we avoided him leaving to bigger clubs. You know, there was talk of Arsenal wanting him. You know, and Jakob as well. He was linked elsewhere. You know, Malumbu was one of the better players in that position in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah,
mixed with Jakob.
I agree.
You know, Don put it having one to screen, defend, and one to push and carry, and that's what we had. You know, in a time where the 4-2-3-1 first came to fruition, we had one of the best partnerships in the league, in my opinion, in Jakob and Malumbu.
Yeah, definitely.
And Malumbu was the more creative and able player in that pair. You know, it'd be hard to find a better player within that squad than Yusuf Malumbu, because he really was a top player, consistent as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. Agree on both of them. And who have you gone for, Dom?
Literally the easiest pick of the day, Chris Brunt. Probably another very popular name as well.
Yeah.
But show me an Albion fan that doesn't love Chris Brunt, and I don't show you a fan. That's basically it. Everyone loves Chris Brunt. The guy had a left foot that could open a can of beans. Cliche.
Tick, 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 tick.
Tick, 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 tick. The guy was great. The guy is sort of an ambassador, isn't he? You know, for want of a better word, for the club. He's been there for such a long tenure. Came in for a small amount of money from Sheffield Wednesday with huge promise, and just gave everything. And near the latter stage of his career, he got a lot of stick from Albion fans because some elements of his game dropped off. You know, he wasn't as fast as he used to be due to age, things like that. And he, fair play to him, adapted and changed his position. He played more centrally, then he dropped to the left back position as well and was fairly competent there. But, you know, that's testament to a player that wants to play football. You know, a lot of players wouldn't do that. A lot of players would say, I play this position, that's it. If you don't like it, I'm going elsewhere. The guy wanted to stay at the club and wanted to play football. And you've got to admire a guy like that will go, I'll stay here, I'll move here, I'll do whatever you want as long as I can play football games. And that's Chris Brunt down to a T.
And the player that I would say that he's most commonly linked with, but obviously not talent-wise probably, but is Ryan Giggs. He's that sort of play. Obviously not as good as Giggs, but he played on that left and then he'd adapt to come back in the middle when he's getting older. So, he's a massive Albion favourite.
I love Brunt, man. Brunt's so good. You know, such a powerful left foot. I mean, I have arguments all the time with friends about how Chris Brunt has one of the most powerful left foots in Premier League history. One of the best, I argue, sometimes, because of how the guy could rip a net. Like some penalties he took, my word, he just smack him into the net. You know, great pass on him. Fast in his earlier days as well. Very good for a goal in those early days as well, in the Championship as well. And his adaptation, his willingness to give everything, and it ultimately led to his longevity in the team. You can't miss him in this squad.
Yeah, he's like you say, he's another one of those players as well that, you know, stayed with us kind of through the best and worst times in recent history. Like, you stayed with us while we were doing well in the Prem, but stayed with us when we got relegated. And he's, you know, like you say, he's just been there for so long. It's hard not to. It's
sad we couldn't give him the send off he deserved. Ultimately with Coronavirus. But hopefully, soon enough, we'll be able to give him one. I don't think we've ever done a testimonial at the Albion that I remember of. No. But if anyone deserves it, it's Chris Brunt, maybe James Morrison as well. A double one for them, because you'd sell out the stadium. You really would. You'd have 27,000 people in there to watch a game. That means nothing, just to say goodbye to these absolute heroes.
Yeah.
And it'd be entertaining football as well.
It would be.
It would be, yeah.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Nice. And I guess we're on to our last picks for midfield. Dom, do you want to take the first one as well?
Jonathan Greene is my fourth pick for midfield. You know, Jono is another one that's just an absolute Albion legend, and he's one that lives in infamy with me. The guy is just pure nostalgia. Again, at the absolute height when I was watching games when I was a teenager. I love watching Jono. He just, again, great ambassador, all the stuff that I was saying about Chris Brunt, all those kinds of players as well. He was a guy that had exceptional talent, exceptional skill, incredible crosser of the ball, was adept on and off the ball as well. And he was just a great player to watch as well. There are some players that you can appreciate and watch the craft. Jonathan Greene was one of those. He used to do this thing as well, which I just noticed when I was watching games, and it was really infuriating. I grew to love it. He used to go on the edge of sort of the 18-yard box, look like he was about to cross, and then he'd turn back and then turn back again, and he'd keep like sort of moving across the 18-yard box. You're like, come on, Jono, put the ball in, put it in. I remember that vividly, but like it was such an infuriating thing, and you'd see the fans going in uproar about it, and that's why I loved it. He did what he wanted when he wanted, and he was a great player to watch. Exceptional.
He was technically amazing, wasn't he?
I think he's another player.
Ex-Man United players that we've had.
Yeah, he takes us to that another level, didn't he? He had another layer to us, and he was playing in the Championship when he should have been playing in the Premier League, and he was such a big part of those boing years and those formative years that we now know at the Albion. So
he was in that best midfield in the world. The song from the Championship winning season under Mowbray, best midfield in the world. Zoltan Giro, Brunton Texiera, Robert Karan, and Jono, that five in the midfield. And he was great, and he lift the trophy at Loftus Road when I was there as well. And I mean, you see that, and you still look at photos like that, these really formative years in that side, and he's just front and center of it. So how can you not have him in the midfield?
That's a very good point.
So has Max gone for him? Let's see.
I haven't gone for Jonathan Greene. In fact, if you've got mine 11 with you, I've just changed it because I can't have it without Chris Brunt in it. I don't know why I didn't have him in the original one, but he's now playing left mid for me because I don't know why he wasn't in my original, because he is my favorite Albion player of all time. I love the guy. Please just rewind it like 5 minutes to see why we all love him so much, because that is why. There's so many things to be said about Chris Brunt, but in so many ways you can't say enough about the guy. He's unreal. I love it.
Yeah, it would be something really special if they did, once all this madness is over, is just have one last game where we just get to celebrate his existence in an Albion shirt. I think
he gave his all. He gave his all, and he deserves it. It's the least he deserves.
That's a top shout, though. Yeah, it's a top shout, though. Imagine that first pre-season game of the season, testimonial for Chris Brunt. Open the stadium up, full stadium. It'd be great. Vine beforehand, have a bit of spicy chicken and a pint.
Oh, the Vine. Don't get me started.
Mate, that's my Saturday sorted.
I miss the Vine.
Right. Should we move on to the strikers then, lads? Go on then, Dom.
Yeah,
you go first, Dom. Who's your first choice?
Right. I've gone for Mr. Transfer Deadline Day, Peter Odemwingie. Because the guy was... it's Peter Odemwingie. The guy was an exceptional goal scorer, and he was one of those where a few of the players we've discussed in this previous 11 were all sort of from the Dan Ashworth bargain bins. The incredible signings like Yusuf Malumbu, Jakob, Macaulay, Olsen, all these kinds of players, Billy Jones, all these kind of players that came in for nothing, for absolute peanuts. Free transfers, a couple of $100,000. I think Brunt himself was like 1.5 million, and something similar with Robinson as well. Just nothing money, absolutely nothing money. And Odemwingie was the same as well. Came in for a nothing price tag from Lokomotiv Moscow. No one knew who the hell he was. He came, and I think he had a few problems when he first came with his mental health that he discussed in an interview when he came to the Albion, and with stuff that was happening in Russia. So he was a bit all over the place, and he said that in the interviews as well. And to go from that and then become one of the best strikers in the Premier League in that season and have such an incredible career with the West Brom, it was fantastic.
It's all about that.
He was amazing. And obviously, we all know the drama that ensued, near the back end of his career and everything else. But who cares?
It does get to a point where it's like, who cares? You put 3 past Wolves, and we've all been doing it in the chat. You do 3 past Wolves, and you do that at the Molineux, the Custard Bowl. I don't care what you do after that. You could do what you want, mate. You live.
Well, mate, I had a picture. I swear to God, of Peter Odemwingie in the bathroom of my house when I was growing up. We had 5 pictures on the wall of the bathroom, each one of the goals that happened at that Wolves game. I swear to God.
And the Italy World Cup.
Yeah, the Italy World Cup. Yeah. Yeah, we live in a sad household. We just have pictures of Albion players in the toilet.
Yeah. You got Adam with Russell Holt on the back of his door. You got players in the loo.
Yeah, I feel bad for having a go at you at the start now, mate.
That's right. Don't worry about it.
Oh dear. What about you, Max? Who's your first striker you're picking?
I'll just copy Don for this one because I've got Odin Wingy in it, so I don't want to repeat myself after it. But he's the obvious choice. I mean, like I said, the 3 past Wolves, coming in from, he came in on promotion, didn't he? We signed him in the first Premier League year, I think. Home serve on the kit.
Yeah.
Good kit as well. I enjoy that kit, especially the white kit, all black with a home serve on. I'm rambling. But yeah, without Odin Winky, what's our rate of survival in those seasons? It's hard to say because he really was a great striker we had there. Versatile, could play on the left, could play up front, and up until my other pick, I don't know if that spoils anything for anyone. We really did lack a striker that had the same goal scoring prowess, and since we haven't really had that until Mbadiania, offside merchant, but maybe he'll get some more goals as well.
Yeah, we need him.
I've gone for Shane Long as my final pick. Good old Schlongy. Yeah, I mean, Shane Long was one of those players that he didn't score as many goals as Peter Odin-Wingy or Romelu Lukaku or whoever, because he didn't. He was not a prolific striker at all. But I used to love watching him play games, which is basically 90% of the team that I've picked so far. He was just a great player to watch, and he was kind of infuriating at times because he'd get in such great positions, a bit like Diablo that we've touched on before, but different in the way that he created his attacking moves. And then obviously he wouldn't score a goal, and he'd go through a drought. He would go like sort of 10 games without scoring a goal, and then he'd bang in a brace, out of nowhere. He was that kind of striker, but he was so good watching him in games, and he's so
fast,
so quick,
work rate as well. Just ran
incredible all game, and he was the perfect striker where he was constantly just trying to arc his run every single time. He was just looking at the last defender and trying to arc a run around every single time. As soon as we got the ball, that was his only intention, and it would come off, sort of 5 out of 20 times. But when it did, he was in on goal, and it was great to see. It was very different to the Pulis era that came afterwards. Obviously, pumping the ball up and a lot of headed goals, which, you're not going to begrudge because we got the results for that, for the vast majority of it. But he was a really dynamic striker, and that's why he's in my Albion 11.
I always remember I'm trying to think which team it was against now. It might have been Liverpool, but I always remember he just ran in between a player and the ball, like just before the player was about to kick it. So we got a penalty. I think that was against Liverpool. But yeah, he just managed to just sneak in just at the last minute, managed to get himself fouled, and it's like, who else would do that? No other player would just be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna." It looks like he's gonna whack that. Well, I'm gonna jump in front of that kick, and I'm gonna get us a penalty. It was just tenacious, nightmare.
Great memories as well. He's another one with great memories, like lifting the shirt so we know what we are. Just another player that gave his all for the club, and he probably has done at every club he's been at since. Ultimately he left because he didn't score enough goals, and we that's what we lacked. But a great serviceman for the club, and a good player for what he did. He was fast, got a few goals, put in a shift, as Adam said, big work rate. So can't begrudge him for that.
Yeah. Who's your second striker then, Max?
I'm surprised Dom hasn't gone for it. I was worried we'd have a copycat situation on both accounts. I've gone Romelu Lukaku. Again, talking about hat-tricks with Odem, come off the bench in that 5-5 against United is the best game of football I've ever watched in my life. And score a hat-trick.
It was a mad game, mate. Do you remember? I mean, you were there in the house.
I told you. I remember sitting there. I think we only need 3 more. You're like, no, we're not doing it. And then we did it, and we got 5-5. It's like, oh my god, incredible. Alex Ferguson's last game, you couldn't write it. Got offered $1,000 for the ticket outside the stadium.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, did you guys do that as well? Were you guys at the 5-5?
I was at uni at the time. I was actually sitting in my mate's room on my laptop watching that game, and he was watching the Spurs game that was going on at the same time, which was like a bore. I think it was like a 1-0 by the end of it. And he was sitting super bored, and that whole game I was just sitting there going, "Oh, it's 1-0 United. That's 2-0 United." And he's just 2-1.
Yeah.
3-1. I was constantly just saying scores, and he was like, "Can we just watch your game? This one's really boring." So we ended up just watching the rest of the West Brom United game because it was just so entertaining.
It's a classic. It's a Premier League classic.
Yeah.
And Lukaku
we got offered $1,000 for the tickets, didn't we? We got offered £1,000 by Man United fans for these tickets, and then we didn't sell them because we're diehards, mate. We did sell them, but then obviously a load of people in the stadium did. So, we had people near us that were quite obviously Man United fans, and they were kind of sprinkled across the whole stadium.
Yeah.
And it was such a weird atmosphere with these sprinkled Man United fans all the way around, jumping up when the goals went in, and then being led out by stewards and little fights breaking out across the stadium, and then the goals going in every 10 minutes, and then going 2-1 up, 3-1, and then us coming back, and then Lukaku scoring the goals, and it ending 5-5. It was just the maddest game of football I've ever watched on and off the field. It was madness.
It was unreal, wasn't it? It was such Dom's right. The atmosphere was weird.
Really weird.
I had that when Chelsea won the league at Albion. There were so many Chelsea fans around where I was. I was in the East Stand at the time, and this one bloke was trying to fight every single one of them. He'd run down the stairs and go, "Oh, have you bloody Londoner," and all this stuff.
Good censorship there, mate.
Yeah, I know. All this stuff about the big cockneys and everything, and he'd be screaming stuff at the fans because they'd pick him out, and you'd see swarms of them being escorted out.
Wow.
It makes for such a weird game. But to just drag it back to Lukaku slightly, the goal against Liverpool sticks in my mind. Just such a brilliant goal scorer, and he continues to be. I mean, he got some stick at United. He was still a good goal scorer there, and into now, he's an incredible goal scorer, and it feels good to be a part of that and to be mentioning these things. I think it was Dom who shared on one of our stories Lukaku's goal record, and it's us in there as well.
Yeah,
I think it's again quite Anderlecht, then us, then Everton, then United, and Inter. But it's just so good, and we've been lacking that striker ever since he left. We didn't fill that void. Everton come and paid $5 million for a year, which was a bit extortionate. But he paid dividends, and he always would because he's an incredible striker.
Well, he went on to be their top goal scorer, didn't he, in Premier League history? So
incredibly natural goal scorer, and the guy. It's
just
I haven't seen someone be that good of a goal scorer at the Albion since.
No.
Yeah, 17 goals in one season, mate. You can't argue with that.
No.
Yeah,
incredible.
Not at all.
Not been many strikers, especially in recent history, that have hit double figures in the Prem.
Yeah.
So,
no, there's this year.
Like him and Wingy, isn't it? That's basically it.
Pretty much Odin Wingy.
Yeah, we've got this year, don't we? Someone hit 20.
Yeah, if Dean Garner can realise what offside is and isn't, then maybe he's going to score, 10+ goals. Yeah. We'll see. He's got 11 games to do it.
If all Premier League goalkeepers could all lose an arm, and all the defenders could all just stay, don't move, just so he remembers. All right, if I'm onside, just give him a couple of minutes.
We just need to get the Arsene Wenger rule of offside in before the end of the season. We'll be sorted.
Yeah, that'd be ideal. If you guys we're gonna pick one player from each of your teams to add into the current West Brom squad, who would you pick?
Go on, Max, you go first.
Oh, if I was to pick one person to go into our squad right now, Romelu Lukaku. Yeah, incredible goal scorer. Stays on side, tick. Yep. And great hold up play from him as well. Incredibly fast as well for his size and build. Rapid bloke. And he'd drive, he'd chest it down, pass it off, drive, score goals. And that's just one way you can score them. Good off the dribble as well. So Romelu Lukaku goes into my squad because we probably had another. No joke. If he's from the start of the season, we had 20 goals to our squad with him in there.
I think if you added him now, once he's had all that experience of that, Man United, he's had Thierry Henry teaching him how to score goals. I think he'll be all right. It'll be a good choice. What about you, Dom?
Well, if I've got my pragmatic hat on, I would probably say Peter Odemwingie. Yeah, I don't want the pragmatic. I've never been a pragmatic guy. I'd say Peter Odemwingie for the same reasons as Lukaku. I feel like, especially the last 4 games, we seem to have shored up the midfield and defence. We've not leaked as many goals as we did when Sam Allardyce first came in. It's just we need to finish goal-scoring opportunities. So imagine Peter Odemwingie and Lukaku up front, but take the pragmatic hat off. I would love to see Liam Ridgewell back just for the memes.
just someone just to keep it a bit light during all of this.
Yeah, keep it a bit light. He'll be in the newspapers every now and then, but who cares? Have you ever
seen the meme or the picture of Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where he points at the TV? That'd be Dom every time Liam Ridgewell pulled up his socks. Dom like, he's done it again. Oh, he's done it, and he'd cheer. He'd ask Sky Bet, can I have odds on Liam Ridgewell knee sock
20 plus times a game?
Yeah, sock pull-ups.
The odds would be too low. It'd be like 1 to 100 or something. You wouldn't make any money on something like that. Awesome.
Well, 2 fantastic teams there, boys.
Yeah,
super. If only we had them now.
Yeah,
I know.
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah, they'd certainly help us out a lot. Thank you so much, obviously, both of you for coming on and chatting with us about your teams. Best place for people to obviously find you, I guess, would be over on your podcast on Spotify and all those various other places.
Wherever people get them, 2 Baggies, 1 Lightbulb, and then Instagram as well, 2 Baggies, 1 Lightbulb.
We'll make sure we've got all the links to everything on the screen and in the description.
No worries.
Awesome. Well, other than that, thank you very much for watching. If you could click the subscribe and like button, because those things help us out. All the socials, as I say, are on the screen and in the box, and we will see you next time.